Yeah, Jacob Erdman, the bad boy of Loveland comedy.
Fort Collins, but yeah.
Well, were you starting Fort Loveland when we started about a decade ago almost?
Actually, it's been more than a decade. I started comedy
since I've known you, I
Oh,
guess.
okay, yeah. So I had some shows in Loveland. I had like 3 shows in Loveland at one point of different venues. But Drake's was the one that I think that we started connecting on and working together with. But I've always been out of Fort Collins.
Okay, my bad.
It's all
Bad
good.
boy Fort Collins.
It's all good, baby.
Yeah, how'd you feel when the 4 Horsemen came around then when you're like,
I was at the tail
guys.
end of those guys.
Fuck these guys.
I was the tail end. No, nothing but respect.
Mitch Jones started before you.
Yeah, the Mitch,
okay.
Mike, Josh, and Eric.
Right.
So they were kind of dissolving when I started up in 2013.
And then you saw an opening, and you were like, I could.
Well, that's the thing too, is that Hawkburns.
The kingpin.
Well.
Hawkburns. Hold on there, bro.
Hawkburns came rolling in hot, and people don't understand the amount of
how his name's a joke. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't
me
get
neither.
it at
Me
first.
neither. I didn't know.
All right.
Yeah.
On his podcast, he's like, I thought it was pretty clear. It was all a joke, and I was like, dude, no. What?
It was absolutely not. It was absolutely not. It was like 3 or 4 years into knowing him, I was like, your name is Elliot Broder?
Yeah. Check out Wolf Hawk Comedy. Shout out.
Oh, absolutely. I'm trying to get beyond.
You're trying to get them to book you from this podcast. You're trying to get booked on other podcasts from this podcast.
That's what I'm saying. It's a foundation, and so you build up.
You start at the top, baby.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah. What I'm saying is like you've been here forever, and
okay.
But so he came rolling in because his older sister was going to college, and I had no idea how to run shows. I had no idea how to approach venues. He had ran shows in Alabama and Memphis and stuff, and he just showed me the ropes. And then I started doing shows, and then David Rodriguez started about 3 years after I started. And I always say this, like, he saw what I was doing, and he was like, I can do that, but better, and he did.
Yeah.
And then look at it now.
Yeah, Rodriguez owns the Comedy Fort now. Yep. Started off the Hoodies, as Hoodies half now.
Yep.
And then... and what was the comedy room? Colorado room.
The Colorado
was the one
room.
In between.
So it was him and Mallory and Kyle Pogue, Mallory Wallace and Kyle Pogue, who started The Boot.
Right.
And then The Boot was so funny because they were so bad at advertising.
But a big bar show.
A big popular bar show. They had a very awesome budget. They
Here
had
in Fort Collins, Colorado, just for listeners.
Oh yeah, just for and I think the bar is still there, but it has just changed hands so many times that who knows what's going on there.
Right.
But what's so funny about The Boot and the genesis of The Boot is that instead of giving David or the group the money for advertising, they took it themselves and spent like $4,500. Imagine what you could do with advertising money of that budget. The Boot itself just put on like AM radio, and all 3 of them were like, what? Like, no one listens to that anymore. Like, if you would have given us that budget, we could have like...
The booth themselves, the venue itself, the bar.
Yeah,
that's what they took that budget
and put it on the radio. Yeah. It was like, who? What radio? Like what?
I like to listen to the radio, so I hope it would still have a thing. But I mean, it's a little bit above just putting posters up on street signs.
Yeah, which we also did, mind you.
Yeah, that was a big part of it.
Yep.
I think that's a stepping stone for anybody promoting their own shows. Is you got to go paper a town.
And what's funny about that is that me and Pogue used to do the adhesive spray on the back.
Oh.
And it was so much easier than tape.
You got a budget.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah. But it was so much easier than the tape, and it lasted longer. But people started calling us and telling us quit graffitiing their signposts and stuff. And then we kind of got reprimanded in that regard. So
by who?
The people who owned the businesses in front of the light posts that we were putting them. Okay. So we got a couple of calls from a couple of people, and I was like, well, I don't want to have to deal with any sort of tickets or anything.
Sure, yeah.
Because all of our information is there. They know exactly where to find us and when.
Our promotion budget went to a fucking ticket we got for
exactly. for graffiti.
Yeah. That's actually pretty funny.
It would be funny.
It would suck, though. No one would be at the show to hear that joke.
Yeah, exactly. But it's always funny first. You always got to make a story out of it. Like, how can I make this interesting?
For sure. Just for anybody who's out of Colorado, Fort Collins, big college town. I think it's like Boulder and then Fort Collins, Denver, Greeley maybe, or even Greeley.
Yeah, Greeley has
Denver.
Northern Colorado University.
Yeah, UNC. Fort Collins has CSU.
Yep.
Boulder, CU.
Mm-hmm.
Denver, CU. DU. They They have a Denver though as well.
Okay.
It's all in the Metro, the Auraria campus.
There you go.
I went to Metro State, so
I went to UW Whitewater in Wisconsin.
Wow.
And
how did you get to Denver or Colorado?
And this is so funny. And I try to do a joke about it, but it never really landed until I was in Nebraska itself. So, spoiler alert, I accidentally went to Nebraska. But I accidentally moved to Grand Island, Nebraska.
Grand
Island, Nebraska. Mind you, I graduated with a geography degree from UW Whitewater, which tells you how good public education is.
Yeah, interesting.
So after I graduated with a geography degree with an emphasis in GIS, I put out applications all over the country. Everywhere that would be accepting entry-level GIS technicians, I put in a resume.
GIS is
Geographical Information System.
Okay.
It's basically digital mapping.
Okay.
Or if you want to get down to the brass tacks, it's information delineation.
And that's pre-Google Maps.
It's still a thing. So you can get a lot of different types of information.
I figured that would have been a big get to work for Google Maps.
Absolutely.
Back then,
We
right?
actually the company that I ended up working for worked for Yahoo Maps.
Okay.
But we provided the imagery and stuff. But anyway, I got this job interview. I got the job itself. I signed all the contracts, and I go to my friends. We're all smoking weed in Wisconsin. This was around 2006. And I'm like, all right, you guys, who wants to move with me to Grand Island, New England? And my friends are like, yeah, but where? I'm like, Grand Island, New England. What do you mean where? Like in New England. They're like, yeah, but what state? I'm like, here. And like my friend Moise was like, let me see what's going on. And he looks at it, he goes, you're moving to Grand Island, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Because it's NE. I was so excited I got a new job. I was so excited I was moving out of my city of 10,000 people that I just thought it was New England.
Right.
And I had signed all the contracts. I was like, oh my
man,
gosh.
dude.
So I downgraded regarding cities, and I moved to Grand Island, Nebraska, believe it or not. And they call it Grand Island.
You didn't
because
quit. You were like, I'm just going to Nebraska.
I've already signed the contracts. I don't want to deal with it. I'm out of the city anyway. It's whatever it is, the resume building job. I can deal with anything for a year. So wrong. At the time, I had longer hair and a middle left agenda politically. And in Grand Island, Nebraska, they are not taking friend applications at all. And the reason they call it Grand Island is because when the Platte River floods, since it's such a braided stream, it creates an island.
Like
sort
right
of.
here, is this it?
What's that? No.
Okay, I was like, is it just like a house on an island? They're like,
No,
this is
it's
the
not.
Grand Island.
Nope. Grand Island, Nebraska is just a big city. Well, it's a medium-sized city of 50,000.
Okay.
And like I said, no one was taking. There it is, Grand Island. That's the entry sign.
That's it, right today.
Yeah, exactly. It's panchromatic. But anyway, so I moved there and I lived there for 11 months, and the job was great because it was like 60% office work, 40% field work, where we would go out in the Platte River on these airboats and stuff and take samples and just like chill and stuff. It was pretty cool. But
take samples of what?
A lot of it was for them. So what we were doing, my main job was to, essentially to plot out Playa Lakes, because they're building all the wind farms. Playa Lakes.
Which is
lakes that happen in the spring and in the fall, where it's like a lot of clay deposits, where it's just like a very temporary lake. And the reason they wanted those plotted out was because in that area, there's a bottleneck of sandhill and whooping crane nesting areas, because they're migrating both north and south.
Those are birds.
Birds, yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they're migrating. They're migrating north in
You're the college boy over here. I don't know that one.
Yep. Sorry, I should slow down a little bit. I got all this Mick Cafe in me.
Birds. I went to college.
Yeah, totally. You talk the talk.
Thank you.
Birds.
Yeah.
But so I was mapping out Playa Lakes because they were building all these wind farms, and they didn't want to murder all the birds.
Yeah.
And so they just wanted to know where the bottleneck was. And so a lot of that stuff we did with visual on site, and then also through aerial mapping.
Okay.
And then
so you're getting on helicopters?
I did not get in any helicopters. Like I said, it was a lot of
satellite.
Satellite and aerial imagery. as well as driving around to like make sure. So if there was ever a whooping crane sighting, all hands on deck, everyone stop. You got to go confirm to make sure. And then I saw like there's only like 400 at the time.
You can just take a picture and be like, I got one.
No, they had to make sure because
so everyone had to come and be like, yep, that's the bird.
Everyone wanted
That's
to.
the
Everyone
bird.
wanted
Okay.
to. So it was like kind of like one of those field trip things. Like you didn't have to, but you had that option. And I was like, I don't want to be in the office anymore. Let's go drive 10 miles this way and go look at where someone said that there's a whooping crane. And there's only like 400 in the wild right now. Like they're super rare. So if there's any sightings, you go out and double check and make sure.
A whooping crane. WHO?
I think so. It's there's just a big old white crane. And so anyway.
Whooping cough.
Yep, there you go. That's what they look like.
They're important because just animal nature. Don't want to lose it. Got it.
There's
All right.
so
Didn't know if
few
they,
left.
like
Pollinated. Nah, I mean
something or
they
whatnot.
eat.
I'm on board. All right. They just existing is good enough for me, everybody.
Exactly.
You know?
You're asking the wrong guy with the wrong questions. What is their importance in the ecosystem? I don't know. They look nice, I guess. They're pretty birds.
It's where you learn the kick from.
Yeah, exactly. The whooping kick?
Crane kick.
Oh, the crane kick from
Cobra Kai.
Yep, totally. No, that's a Miyagi. That's a Miyagi move.
Right, yeah, but the show is called Cobra Kai.
Oh, I didn't see the show either. I just watched the movie.
Show overshadowed the movies.
Really?
So good.
And a lot of original cast as well?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's like the best of all the things. Good nostalgia, but they're also moving the plot forward, new great characters.
Totally.
I'm on board, dude.
Beautiful.
I've been on board since the
still
beginning.
going on?
Yeah, they're finishing it up. It was on YouTube Red before it became YouTube Premium.
Yep.
And then it moved over to Netflix, just found a bigger audience there. And now they're doing like this 3-part like movie series to end it because it's been going on for like 5 years.
Are they bringing back like Ralph Macchio?
He's been in it since the beginning,
really?
Dude. Yeah, they brought almost everyone back.
Oh, beautiful.
Almost everybody. Except Miyagi, he's dead.
He's dead?
Yeah.
Oh, bummer. Well,
R.I.P.
Yeah. What's his last name? Kim or something? Don't know. Anyway, the funny part about living in Nebraska was the fact that I had long hair. I was a 23-year-old. Pat Morita. Yep.
Yeah. R.I.P. Bed.
Totally. He was a badass. And what's funny is that in Karate Kid, he wasn't that old.
Yeah, I know,
he was 55, 60.
Yeah, they're older in the show than he was in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he looked all old in the movie because like we were children. And anyone over 30 was like, oh my gosh, you're so old.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I've been lifting the last couple of years, like heavier. And I remember my dad used to lift when I was younger too, but when I was like 20 and he was like maybe a little bit older than me, maybe in his 40s. But he was like, yeah, I like got a new PR in my bench today. I was like, why are you doing that? You're going to hurt yourself. You're so old.
Yep, you're so old.
I was like, what are you going to do?
I know. And you blink twice and then now you're 40 and it's just like, my knee hurts, my feet hurt, I have high blood pressure, low testosterone. Come on, body. What are you doing?
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, back to your mapping out.
So mapping out Sandhill Cranes, yada, yada. But
they didn't like you because you're a liberal.
No, I was a middle ground liberal, but the people, the bar scene, I was 23 at the time.
Okay.
So I was going out to the bars all the time.
You party now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say you get after it.
I try to. I feel like I'm like Wayne Campbell. He's like, but I still know how to party.
Who's Wayne Campbell?
From Wayne's World.
Okay.
So he's like he has a lot of jobs with the hairnets and name tags, but I still know how to party.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so I was there, and within that 11 months that I lived in Grand Island, Nebraska, I would say I got into...
Didn't make it a year, huh?
Did not. Well, I got another job.
Like,
I got
could
out.
do anything a year.
Yeah, I thought I could. Like I said, I could not. I got into like 5 or 6 major fist fights.
Oh, shit.
It was a nightmare. People would point me out and try to fight me because like I had hair.
You were just a hippie.
I was just a hippie, and I was new to the city, and people like, they stuck in their cliques.
This is like early aughts?
This is 2006, 2007.
Okay. All right.
And because I moved to Fort Collins in 2008. So It was like that 2007, let's call it, from February to February of 08. And so my first interaction with people trying to fight me is I was at this bar called The Tank that was literally right across the street from the federal building, which I worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service at the time. And I was sitting there drinking a Budweiser, and these guys stopped playing pool. And it was like one of those island bars where it's the middle, and it's like, if it was a club, it was like a club bar too, where like it was just me and those 4 guys and the bartender. or 3 guys and the bartender. And I was sitting there drinking a beer, just like it was 5 p.m. on a Friday. Work was done. And I was brand new to the city. This was like my first weekend there. And they stopped playing pool. And like, I wasn't talking to anyone. I was sitting there minding my own business. And they like walk around the bar itself, like I was trying to like run away or something. And it was literally the scene from Star Wars where it's like, the guy goes, "I don't like you. My friend doesn't like you. Get out of my bar." And I was like, what? Like, this is real? And so I put down my money and I left. I was like, this is crazy. And then so throughout the year, there was a tolerance where I was like, I don't care about these people. If you want to fight me, let's get after it. Let's roll.
You like to scrap? You knew how to scrap?
I do know how to scrap. And here's the funny thing is I used to take karate lessons from like 6 to 18. Like I went to tournaments and stuff. I did really well.
Taekwondo,
Judo Kwan, Taekwondo with like Goju. So it's a lot of kicking.
Yeah.
And then I used to wrestle as well.
Okay.
And
you got both your bases covered.
Exactly. And I also cry a lot.
Okay. So it's a useful tool.
Absolutely, emotionally. They don't want to hit the crying guy, and all of a sudden I get after him. But so one time I was really big. So in my life, there are like periods of music in which I listen to. And so I was super big into Yes that year. I found out about Yes. They're the ones who sing like Roundabout and stuff. And each song of theirs is like 15 minutes long. They are a prog rock band. And they, yep. Oh man, this song is so awesome. And so, yeah. And it's totally awesome. So each,
okay, this is you.
Yeah. So each one of their songs, and they also have like Owner of a Lonely
This is
Heart.
Crazy on You.
What's that?
Sounds like the beginning of Crazy on You, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. Gonna crazy on you. But anyway. So I would play these songs on the jukebox.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little different. My bad.
Yeah. But it's still complicated guitar, like very, very talented people. So I was playing the one time, one of the last times that I got into a major fist fight, I put on like 5 Yes songs. So that's like an hour and a half of Yes. And this one guy goes, "Who the fuck is playing all of this music?" And I was like, "I am." And he's like, "You and me outside right now." And I was
crazy.
so over these people picking fights with me.
Right.
And I put my beer down and I just walk outside. And that guy was not expecting it. Because one of my greatest advantages in this life is to be underestimated. Like,
okay, yeah.
Absolutely underestimate me. Think that you can fight me, and we'll see what happens.
I don't want to find out.
No. I don't want to fight either. But this is the funny part. So this guy comes out totally peacocking. Like, I called him out. Now he has to go out. Because I was like a 5'10", 140-pound dude who's just like, okay, you want to scrap? Let's scrap. Over Yes. The band Yes. So I go outside, and this guy's peacocking at me. And he's a big dude. He's like Kyle Pogue size. Like, he's a big guy. Like 6'3", 6'4", just built. And I was like, if I get punched by this guy once, I'm done. But when he comes out peacocking, if you want to fight somebody, that's not how you approach it.
Yeah.
And so he came at me like this, and I just like laid into him a bunch of times, and he
like
fell.
You went after the body.
No, face. So
okay.
basically it's like a kill line. So
Okay.
anywhere along this line is wherever you punch is going to hurt a lot. But go straight for the nose right away.
Okay.
And then he fell on his knees. He fell on the ground and started flopping.
Oh,
like
shit.
seizing up. And I was like, and I can't forget that feeling at all. I was like,
oh, shit.
I did not want this
Be
at all.
scary, yeah.
And so I went in, closed my tab, drove home, and cried for like an hour. And every single fight I've ever been in, I just go home and I cry. Like, I just cry. And
a lot of adrenaline. A lot of
it's like an emotional roller coaster.
Through, yeah.
I don't like violence. I don't like fighting, but I will defend myself appropriately. And so I tell these stories to these people about like how violent Grand Island was. And me and Pogue were one time on tour heading through the Midwest, and he didn't really believe me that there's a city like that exists.
Interesting.
And so we did a show at a place called Wave Pizza, and then we went out after to just go to the bar and see what's happening. In the one night that we were in Grand Island, Pogue himself almost got into like 6 fist fights. And when we got back to the hotel that night, he's like, I totally believe you, because these people are angry. These people are very angry at whatever it is. And so me and him are the opposite side of the spectrum. They want to fight him because he's the biggest guy. They want to fight me because they think they can beat me up.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, you and Pogue both walk through the world very differently. Like the person who wants to pick on you doesn't want to pick on Pogue.
Yeah.
Because Pogue's a big guy, you know. But apparently they still do.
Yeah,
so
no,
I mean, it's a different kind of guy, I guess.
Yeah. And then so from there, I was so sick of fighting people that I found out one of my good friends lived in Fort Collins, Colorado. And honestly, after work on a Friday, driving 6 hours to party in Fort Collins for the weekend and driving 7 hours back because of the time change, totally great trade-off. And then so once my contract got up, I applied for a job for basically a Monpa GIS company called iCubed that was just starting up, just ramping up, and they were looking for GIS technicians with entry-level stuff. And I had a year under my belt. I was willing and able to learn. That's the thing. And the reason that they said that they hired me instead of like whoever else is like I was the only person who didn't lie on the interview. When they would ask me about these programs that I had known or programs that I didn't know, they were like, yeah, you were the only one who just said that you had no idea what those were, but you're able to learn those. And I was like, people lie on their interviews, and it turns out that happens a lot. It turns out people lie on their interviews all the time.
Kind of what people do, yeah.
And so I thought that was so crazy because, like, imagine lying on your interview to somebody who actually knew the program. Be like, well, obviously I know that you're lying. I know this program in and out, and you clearly do not. Like, you don't even say the right words for it.
Right.
But to me, that was so strange, and I was like, I guess that's nice. I guess I thank you for hiring me. And so that's how I ended up in Fort Collins. So I worked with them for 12 years up until 2019, and then I got a non-performance-based layoff. It's very important, non-performance-based layoff. It wasn't because I was bad at my job, but I was also really bad at my job.
Why was that? Because you weren't as learning?
No.
Or weren't able to learn these things as much as you thought you were?
They didn't train me well enough, and they put me like basically into the fire, and I take responsibility for it, but I just kept messing up projects. That was it. Sure. Just the small things. And I did work for them for 12 years, and then they laid me off, and then I got unemployment.
Wait,
and then
for how many years?
From 2008 to 2019.
God damn.
Yeah. So it's basically.
So you did fine at the job.
I did well enough. I was like kind of like that Office Space line. It's like I did well enough not to really move in the ranks, but I did poor enough not to move up in the ranks, but well enough not to get fired.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was just like treading water, keeping my head above, like just barely keeping my head above the water. And then I got laid off, and then I started working with this other job where I do what's called mortgage inspection now. And I literally drive around the country taking pictures of buildings. And it's great because I get to travel the country, and I only work 9 months out of the year.
What happens to the other 3?
Basically Q4, all the contracts are established. They're all addressed. Everything is done. So it's like really only that. There's some stragglers that come out, but mortgage companies really pile it on Q1 to Q3, which is a financial term for the first 3 quarters of the year.
Okay. So Christmas, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, you have off basically?
Yeah. So last year I went to Europe for 77 days.
God damn.
Yeah. And so that was fun.
That's when you went to Venice.
I went to
or Florence.
Yep, Florence.
Yeah. So I told you when we were on the show in Fort Collins about a month ago, and you're like, you got to go to this sandwich shop. You got to go to this. You get something made of leather. You got your nice leather jacket.
Yep.
I didn't buy anything made of leather. Everyone was pushing something on me.
Yeah.
I didn't like the vibe of that.
Sometimes it gets a bit aggressive. They get after you.
Yeah. And I was like, this guy almost sold me on a backpack. Dude, he's like pulling all the stuffing out. And he's like, you give me cash, I'll knock it down 60%, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he was pushing it hard. And I was just like, I still got to spend like $240 on a leather bag I wasn't crazy about. So I was just like, Nah, I'm gonna buy this keychain.
Yep, good enough
it
for me.
Looks like a piece of pizza.
I bought that red leather jacket, and it's just too cool, and it's super soft as well. And it was my first expensive piece of clothing that I've ever bought.
Oh, really?
I mean, you can see my wardrobe right now. I think I bought this for
Lord
$10.
Of the Rings thing, yeah.
Yeah, nice. It's from a guy named Willie T. Taylor. I saw him in a backyard once, and then these blue jeans are probably 5 years old, and shoes are half off.
Yeah, you're a real man of the earth.
Yeah, let's call frugal.
Okay, yeah.
Or I've also never had money before, and so one time, like I said, I have a little bit of money now.
The GIS stuff didn't pay well.
They did not pay well. They were very Mod Pa Kettle. It was like basically enough money to survive. That's what was going on. And so, yeah, now I have a little bit of, let's call it play money, a little bit of fun money.
Some wham.
Yeah. So
walking around money.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were talking about the sweet band, and I was like, I never called money wham, but I will now, George Michael. R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
When he left Wham, he died to me.
No, well, he's also dead. Yeah. He died not too long ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Damn it. Bad joke too soon.
It's all good.
Yeah, totally. I hope nobody who represents the estate of George Michael comes after me.
I doubt it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. They're like, we were listening to Left Hand, Right Brain.
I would. I mean, I'd be flattered.
Yeah, to be like, really? I'm on your side.
Gotta make it funny first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So now you got some money with the thing you're doing now, and
and I get to travel the United States. I do shows all over the place.
Yeah, you're out there. You're doing it. So you've been working the road for a long time.
So I was in Houston, and I cannot speak highly enough about Houston comedy.
Everyone's all about Austin. You like Houston, huh?
Houston is so much better, as far as I'm concerned. Because, and this is what I told the Houston comics, and I was like trying not to be rude about it, but I was like, Houston's not underrated. It's not rated at all. Yeah, when you talk about Houston comedy, no one's like, oh, it's good, bad, ugly. Like, it's nothing. I'm like, you guys have a clean slate. You guys can make it whatever you want. And Houston comedy right now is exactly where Denver was like when we started, like 10, 15 years ago, where you can get on any show and people are willing and able to book you based off of just who you are. I guess it's kind of weird to say
like
that.
Word of mouth?
Yeah, word of mouth. But also, there's this guy named Will Loden who's down there, who's been doing it for a while. Excuse me, I'm burping.
Yeah, sorry if my camera's a little wobbly. It's because I have the washer on.
Oh.
And it's shaking the wall so much. The table here is shaking a little bit. I'll have to look into that next time.
That means
I don't think it's won't last too long.
You got clean laundry now.
Yeah,
that's what that means. So when people watch it, they'll be like, "Damn, dude, JD's got that cleanest laundry."
That's what I want them to think.
Exactly.
Meanwhile,
they look at me, they're like, "This guy needs to wash his clothes once in a while. Like, do us a favor."
Well, you're on the road. You're busy.
That's what I'm saying.
Jokes.
Thank you for understanding. Not everyone gets it.
Yeah. Well. So you're in Houston. There, you're excited about where they're at.
I love Houston comedy. There's this bar called the club called the Secret Group. That they got a main room and they got a back room. I'm familiar and maybe friends with the people who book the shows now, so I can do drop-in spots whenever I'm coming through, 5-10 minutes. And the best part about it is that, I can crush 5-10 minutes, hopefully, at this age, at this time in my comedy career, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so, and then I also tell them, hey, I can work for free. I'm already here. I just want the stage time. I just need the stage time.
Interesting.
And so that's also very lucrative for the producers to have a decent enough comic who can crush 10 minutes for free because I'm already there. I'm already working.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very...
And if they want to throw me a free beer or $10, that's totally fine. I don't need it. And that money will go right back to the bar anyway. So, but Houston comedy is so awesome. They have, I believe it's called The Riot. And Houston comedy, like I said, is basically you can go up on stage, be it mics or shows, any night of the week. It's so great. And you can just do drop-in spots, like I said. And if I have enough leeway or enough time that I can tell them when I'm going to be there, which rarely happens, I can do feature spots for sure. I'm at that level in my career of comedy, and I know exactly where I'm at, that I call myself a professional hobbyist. Kyle Poe came up with that term. But it's like, it resonates with me so much. Like, I just want comedy to be fun again. I want to take the politics out of it. And as someone who's been doing it about as long as I have, when did you start comedy?
I started in 2013, 14-ish.
Okay. So it was October for 2013 for me.
Okay.
And so a while there, the politics were getting in the way of comedy, and, the internal drive of, I have to make it. I have to do it. I have to do 30 shows a month. Otherwise I'm not at this level. That kind of took the fun out of it. Whereas now I know where I stand. I know my level of comedy, and I don't want to put too much stress on me or pressure, but I would love, like, I just go places and just do, like I said, 5-10 minutes, and it's great. And then I just network out there and stuff. And, I'll apply when I can to festivals, but I'm just so busy the 9 months out of the year. And then the other 3 months, I go international.
Okay. Yeah, that's like kind of where your focus is right now. You like going across the pond.
Yep, exactly.
God, that sounds so douchey.
Any direction, any north, south, east, or west. Like, I've done comedy in Costa Rica. I've done comedy in Colombia. I've done comedy in China, which was hilarious for all the wrong reasons. I've done comedy in Ireland, Spain, and Switzerland.
Damn. And they let you even though you didn't speak those languages?
Absolutely. Well, Ireland was pretty okay because there was a lot of native speakers, but I found out very quickly that for my comedy, you need an elementary understanding of the geography and the politics. Because I talk about weed, I talk about, I have this joke about abortion and stuff. I have
and stuff.
Yeah, you know,
abortion and stuff.
Just that light subject that's where everyone is on board and is in the same boat. You know, a non-polarizing joke premise like abortion and stuff.
Yeah, that has to be hard. What happened in China?
Oh, it was so funny. It was like an open mic situation, but they gave me 10, 12 minutes, and I have it on my thing. But my opening salvo was basically nothing transcends the language barrier like American stand-up comedy, which is completely wrong. Right. Completely wrong. It's
I mean,
it doesn't even transcend the English barrier in America.
Yeah.
Like, you know that when you go different places, you got to change your act a little bit. And then there's also the difference between white rooms and black rooms, the North, the South, like the East, California. Like, if you do a conservative room or a liberal room, it's like comedy is so niche of a art form that you can be in the same country, you can be in the same state, you can be down the road at two different rooms, and you will get completely different reactions to your
someone
jokes.
That works in Boulder versus Aurora.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm not getting out as much as you are, man. So you see a big difference in like
absolutely, but generally,
different parts of the country, even.
Generally speaking, I was doing Oklahoma City, and what was crazy about Oklahoma City that it had the most diverse lineup and the most diverse crowd. It was awesome in Oklahoma City, of all places. But generally speaking, the people who are going to open or going to comedy shows have a pretty middle to left wing political agenda. Generally speaking, sometimes you hit those people who this subject should never be joked about. Don't even bring up those words, never again. And then you just eat shit for 5 minutes or however long the bit is.
You're not pushing to do headlining sets when you're out on the road now?
Not
you
specifically.
Just want to I just like the 10, 15 right now. That's where my sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want to stick.
And I don't want to disappoint anybody.
Sure.
Because like if I got 30 minutes, then I have to start reaching into the bag and do jokes that I haven't done in 5 years because I'm constantly writing, and so I'm trying to bring new stuff in. And a lot of times my open mics are the shows that I'm put on because I can't ruin a show with my 5 or 10 minutes. And if the new jokes aren't working, I'll obviously in my brain and then later on after the show highlight them and like, you know, trim the fat, get it down to those higher LPMs, laughs per minute. But generally speaking, my shows are my mics.
Yeah, the shows that you run here in Colorado.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, you got a bunch. Or there was a time you had a bunch. Did that go down during COVID, or you wrapped it back up?
Totally took the rug out of my feet.
Yeah, how many? What was the highest amount of shows you were running at one point?
So the highest that I was running was 7 shows a month, 3 different rooms, and the organization behind that was necessary. It was tough, and I'm not really good at organization, but I had to be if you're running that many shows.
So and multiple shows at the same venue.
Yep. So there was 2 like let's see 7 shows a month, and it was like so multiple shows at multiple venues, and then one venue was like once a month.
Okay.
And so it was 3 shows like I think it was like for a while there it was every Thursday and then every Saturday depending on the month, because sometimes there's 4 weeks in a month.
Okay.
You know how it goes. But it was, and we had it all lined up and stuff, but basically it was rough. It was a lot of work. And then COVID came and
just booking and
then trying to get a diverse lineup too, because I mean, a straight white guy, there's only so many dick and fart jokes you can listen to. And especially when I fill that niche already as a host.
Yeah, you're
So-
like, I got that covered.
Yeah, I got this. So we need different.
Booking diverse is something that you put a lot of effort into.
Absolutely. Be it male, female, white, Mexican, black, transgender, straight, gay, everything. Because you need a different perspective on life. You can't just sit in your echo chamber and just listen to the same old nonsense. And the relatability, sometimes there's an unknown relatability when it comes to other comics of a let's call it a minority straight white male being the majority of a minority group, where you're like, oh my gosh, I never even considered it in that aspect, but I can totally relate what they're saying.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got a lot of people getting at you to get on your shows, a lot of out-of-towners that are coming by and stuff. So that just adds to the organization that has to be hard to deal with.
And what's also awful is just working with comics. Just, they're children.
Okay.
They are just children,
Yeah.
man. And so I learned really early that before every show, 2 or 3 days before the show, I have to send out this message saying, hey, remember, you have a job to do.
Yeah.
You got to go to my show.
You're always very good at that.
Yeah,
like,
you
it's
got
like,
to.
Oh shit, thanks.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Here, can you use this coaster for
Yeah,
that?
for sure.
Just
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It'll just
Absolutely.
It's
Yep.
a little more
What I'm
muted.
talking about.
Cork, found that in Portugal. Apparently,
Nice.
they're big. Cork is a big export for them.
Really? They got a bunch of cork trees?
Is that it from a tree?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a type of
I
tree.
guess so, because they're like, we manufacture a bunch of cork here.
Where'd you go in Portugal?
Went to Lisbon.
Oh, I
And then
love
the
it. I
Azores.
love it. Did you go
Azores.
up to one of those streetcars that are almost like 45 degrees up and they're like super unique looking?
We went to one. We didn't ride it.
Oh, okay.
There's a huge line.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Yeah, it's a big hilly kind of San Francisco-y in that sense.
that's what I thought as well. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought.
But I love all the tile work.
Mhm.
That's something that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
All the tile and
And it's the little things like that, like the splashes of color, the intricacies, the little things that America kind of doesn't do.
yeah.
And so if you go to like South American stuff, like you'll see like a bright green house next to a bright yellow house. And in America, like, oh, that's ugly. I'm like, that's a party.
Yeah.
I love this. This is
You
so
like
great.
that. Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. That does really seems to match with your personality.
Yeah, just
So
kind of
that's
out
what you
there.
like,
Just
yeah.
try to.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I would think when I think of Jacob Erdman. I'm like, he's kind of out there, he's doing his thing, but he runs a lot of stuff. So he's got like, you have like a firm grip on the shows you do, like the scene here.
And I can.
But it's always been a little adjacent to Denver, I guess.
Yeah.
You haven't really broken into the Denver
No.
scene, I guess.
Not
in a
really.
way.
I mean, outside of making friends with the people that I
Yeah.
book on my shows.
Yeah, like you're friendly. I mean, no one says anything bad about you, but I mean, like,
Well,
you're-
not to my face.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard it otherwise either. But I
All
mean,
right,
I'm sure we both got people who are talking shit behind our
everyone's
backs.
got baggage.
Yeah, sure.
100%.
But that's not what I was trying to get at or anything. But yeah, just that like you're doing your own thing over there, and it's a party. I mean, you're just content doing your thing. How'd you come to that? Was there a reckoning that had to happen? Or?
I wasn't being booked on enough shows early enough, and I had met Hawkburns, and I was like, "How can I do this?" He's like, "Well, why don't you start your own show?" I'm like, "I don't know how." He's like, "Let me show you what's up." And then so me and him started co-running a show.
I didn't know you and Hawkburns were so partnered up.
Yeah, it was like the first couple of years, and then I found out real quick that I'm like, what's the word? A freak when it comes to, I need control. I'm a control freak of my own things. And so he's more of a laissez-faire at the time. He was like, yeah, it'll work itself out. But I'm like, I need to book the shows. I need to know exactly who's on the show, because sometimes once in a while he would book a headliner, I would book a headliner, and then someone would have to be like, oh shoot, sorry dude, like we double booked. And so there was a miscommunication, but we started running Pateros Creek in like 2014 up until when they went out of business. And did you ever do Pateros Creek?
Not that I can think of, but I've done a lot of your shows. So
Yeah.
probably.
So it was the one in Fort Collins, and it was a squat, great show with like, it wasn't long. It wasn't like
squat.
it wasn't like,
a
shot,
short room.
a short room, but
Okay.
wide. Kind of like how like Verboten that Jeff Albright runs in Loveland. If you've done that show.
No, I
It's
haven't.
basically like fat and narrow.
Okay.
And so it was great. It was sold out every show. And yeah, so we ran that show, and then it sort of tapered off because they sold their business and stuff. And then I just kept building more and more shows, and then establishing more and more relationships, and approaching more and more venues. And
so it's like a hustle. You're out there, you're doing it.
I was grinding really hard. And I remember there was a time when I was making more money in comedy, paying bills and stuff, than I was for that week or something than I was at my Joe job. Like, it's like I said, like sometimes I would be running 3 shows a week, and then basically just collecting tips, and then also paying out and stuff. But making that money was pretty nice, pretty fun. And then also being on my own shows. No one had to book me. I was already like in, so it was fun.
Yeah. So you just are like, I'm good with this.
Yeah.
You're pretty content.
Mm-hmm. And then word would travel, and once in a while, like for example, I love working with Brad Galley and Katie Bowman. I'm on Sushi High in June and stuff. And then working with you, being on these podcasts and stuff, and then hit up Hawkburns and Lizzie, trying to get on Wolf Hawk. But like basically just trying to make it fun again, taking out the politics, crushing 10 to 15 minutes, not worried about feature or headlining spot, not trying to make a name for myself because I'm super content with where I'm at.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go. It seems to be working for you, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good, I want to get to that like Zen place, I guess. So I'm always like, how did you do it? How'd you get just to be happy with where you're at? Cause I'm a bit in that rat race where I'm like, oh, I got it. Why am I not doing more? Why am I not booked on more things?
Yep.
Things, that can wear on you.
But then also as a producer who's been producing for almost 10 years, I always tell new comics, approach the producers, approach them, because that makes their job easier. And if they don't know you, they can, like I said, they can give you 5 to 7 minutes that even if you bomb, they know that it won't ruin the show. But if you're an established person like you, they know that you can crush 10 to 15, 20 minutes, and just approach the venues themselves, approach the producers. You know enough people that just get after it. And the worst they can say is no, and the best they can say is, we're booked this month, how about next month? Stuff like that.
Yeah. That's something I've been trying to wrap my head around more for a while. It's like, because when I started, everyone was like, you wait to be asked.
Yeah,
you don't ask.
You jump after. It makes my job so much easier when people are like, hey, can I be on your shows? I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank
so no
God.
one's like thinking about me because they're like being approached by so many new comics. They're like, I don't need to think about anybody else.
Meanwhile, it would be a breath of fresh air being like, oh, thank God, somebody who I know is consistent and funny who can do this amount of time without being like, will they do good? Will they do bad? Like, so.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I always tell newer comics, because the time has changed, because I remember the old guard was like, no, you wait to be asked. It's rude. Yeah. And when I started comedy in Fort Collins, there was a time when there was an open mic every day. There was a time when that happened. Meanwhile, I was running 3 of those open mics. But the point is, like, when I started comedy in Fort Collins, it was 2 open mics. One was Hody's and one was Ma's Juice Bar. One was ran by...
Yeah, I remember Ma's Juice Bar.
Yep, one was ran by Bob Gaudette. The other one was ran by Captain Jason. And there was one...
Jason Novak,
yep.
Yeah.
And there was one showcase. And it was the first Monday of every month at the East Coast. An off night of that nature, like who, what?
Yeah, no one's coming to Fort Collins to do a Monday showcase, yeah.
On a school night? That's crazy. I mean... Pogue and the crew did Elliot's late night on Sundays and Saturdays and stuff. I forget which day it was. I think it was Sunday.
Sundays.
I think it was Sunday, but those were just fun.
Yeah.
But Elliot's like a Monday evening, like, I don't even know. And so Chris Charpentier was the first headlining comic that I'd ever seen. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Like, it was after one of my first open mics at Hody's, because Hody's was on Mondays as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of this scene. Like, something special is going on here. And then I started, and then D-Rod started, and then Pogue started. I don't know if it was in that order. And then, like, a lot of my friends are a result of that crew being in comedy or not being in comedy anymore.
What?
So a lot of my friends have stopped doing comedy.
Okay, yeah.
But I've been doing it for 10 years, and that's pretty rare. If you haven't made it to this level and you're 10 years in, a lot of people just like bow out, and COVID was a very convenient time for a lot of people to not do comedy anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. it is a lot easier to not do it sometimes.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
But there's something in me where I'm like, I want to continue to do it.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't really believe in birth order, but I am the middle child.
Me too.
So I am. And I was talking to a lot of my friends, and when I'm on the road so much, I have this problem where when I'm with my friends after not seeing them for like 5 months, it's the Jacob show. I'm like so happy, so talkative. Oh my gosh, people that I actually have history with, and I just kind of drown out the conversation. So I have to put the brakes on that. Like, otherwise it's the Jacob show all the time, and no one gives a shit.
Well, they're your friends. I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they understand. They understand to a degree, but sometimes I get a bit me. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, I always thought of you. I mean, I guess I've always wanted to keep you at arm's distance a little bit because I listened to your podcast and you were like going hard with some drugs, dude. You know, like you were what was the one you were doing with Dan Jones, or the one we were just talking about before we started? Maybe Dan Jones wasn't the right guy, but
I don't know, man. I mean, I've been doing.
You've done a couple different podcasts.
Yeah. Well, the one that I primarily was hosting was Beer and Banter, but I've been a lot of fun. But I don't know what drug. I mean, I think
you were talking about being on cocaine and you guys were wrestling.
Oh my gosh,
and
that was my.
I think Lizzie Wolfson was on that episode.
Oh my gosh, that was just so like, funny. Dude,
I was like, I can't. This guy's like going hard. I get scared.
Funny.
I'm like, I can't be around this. Like,
yeah,
I don't like this. It makes me nervous and uncomfortable. So I was just like, that guy goes hard. Good on him.
Not anymore.
No. What happened? You get
I went to Colombia for a month in November of 2022. And I found out real fast because I got it from like the mother's teat. Like I got it from the source, like fish scale cocaine, like the craziest shit you've ever seen.
Fish scale
it's
cocaine.
Like it like shines in the light and stuff. It's not stepped on. It's like, and I got it for tourist prices, which was $8 a gram.
Which is a lot.
It's not a lot.
Okay. Tourist prices, I figured
it was in Colombia, because if you find the right people, you can get it for like $3 or $4 American dollars a gram in Colombia. But for example, in America, I don't know this drug, but an 8-ball is like 3.5 grams. That'll run you around $300, maybe $400. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just don't know. I know it's very expensive in America, and it's super stepped on, super dirty.
I mean, all this stuff is like, I don't even know what I get kind of what you're talking about, but I mean, I don't.
But I did a lot of it when I was in Colombia, and I found out really fast that I hate that drug. I don't like the high, and I don't like the hangover. Like when I was on like a 3-day bender, and after that was over with, it was like a week of just. I always said, like, if I could feel sad or depressed, that'd be great because I'd have a feeling. At the time, I was just a vacant shell of nothing. Like all of my endorphins, dopamine receptors, everything was ran out. I was just a shell of a person. A ghost walking through. I was nothing. And I was like, I came to the realization, like, I hate this drug. I hate how I feel right now. I will never do it. And since then, I think that I've done maybe a key bump trying to stay awake for a party or something. But no lines, no nothing. And I've also slowed down regarding drinking as well. Like, I am only like a one day a weekend guy, maybe, or one every other weekend. I cannot drink 2 nights in a row anymore. I just can't. I won't. I'll eat an edible to take the edge off of reality, but I've slowed down a lot compared to my 20s and 30s.
Just from like feeling terrible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, at least you were able to, realize you don't feel good and put the brakes on it.
Absolutely. It was a nightmare.
It's a nightmare? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so and then I'm running at like a 7% fuck up rate when it comes to drinking anyway. And I want to lower that down to 1%.
What is that? What's a fuck up rate?
That's when I fuck up like around friends or get in trouble or something of that nature. I never drive, but I say the wrong things or I do the wrong things and people get angry with me. And so that's a fuck up. And so I try to lower that and I try to minimize that aspect, but it's part of the game. It's I don't want to, but that's what happens.
All right. So the bads started outweighing the good stuff, and
when that happens, like I said with cocaine, the bad outweighed the good by far. So I was like not going to do it. And like the same with like marijuana, where I'll eat like a half an edible or 5 milligrams, but getting too high, it's just not fun anymore. Therefore, I won't do it. And if it's not fun, what am I doing? Why am I paying for that?
Yeah, for real.
So.
Yeah, and it was never fun for me. So I guess, there we go.
Exactly.
We got that. Okay, I guess we're here now, huh?
Yep. This is where we're at.
When I messaged you about, hey, are we still on for Saturday? You did message me and say, I'm in drugs right now.
Yeah. Oh.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So I did Molly.
Okay.
So I was on Molly when you were talking to me. I was at a show in Denver.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's a drug that I will do very sparingly as well. I think I have 1 gram of that or a little bit less now, and that's been sitting in my room for the past 5 months. 1 gram can last me all year, easily. And so I'll buy it when it's available, and it'll just sit there. I'm not jonesing for it. I'm not fiending for it. So yeah, I was on drugs. So, but
I was just fine. I thought you said I'm in drugs now.
Oh, that's what I said. Yeah. I'm in the throes of it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm in drugs right now. So give me your address and the time.
Yep, sounds about right.
Well, I appreciate you getting back to me.
Oh, totally. No, I was very excited because I've been trying to get on this podcast for 7 years now.
I mean, yeah, we talked about doing it, and then it fell apart a while ago. I mean, yeah, you were busy, and then shit happens, and you don't get back to somebody.
What happens.
Yeah. And stuff. But well, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're maturing in a way.
Yeah, growing as a person, but I still fuck up a lot. Well, so I try to minimize that. But every single time I fuck up hard, I look at it, I'm like, oh, that was a drug and alcohol based fuck up. When I'm sober, I'm running at like 0.5% of fuck ups. So
what's the draw to do the drug? You're just like, I just want to have a good time?
Sometimes
I just want to up this experience?
Yeah. So sometimes I just am too happy, too me when I'm around my friends. And so I'll say something crazy and it'll fuck up some shit.
Like, what's something crazy that you're is
so
too
I'm
crazy
friends,
for you?
so in comedy, you know how you work with diverse people. I accidentally called a transgender person by their dead name.
Oh, okay.
And that's a huge no-no.
Sure.
And I didn't necessarily know the rules, but I knew that was a taboo thing. So that was a thing that I had to step back from and be like, I am so sorry. It was never my intention to insult you in that nature. As a friend, as somebody who respects you for who you are and what you're doing, I am so sorry. So shit like that.
I mean, yeah, that's just a mistake. I mean, when you're like, I'm being too me, I was like, what does that mean?
Just too out there. Just too,
you're just
too talky.
Yeah, and like just going. You're going and you're not thinking.
The Jacob Show. Okay. The Jacob Show gets into full effect.
Interesting.
And then I'll start down this rabbit hole and I'll just say something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And then
shit happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully they were in a place where they can be like,
oh, no,
I get it.
And I'm also one of those people that I do not blame the drugs and alcohol. I take full responsibility for that, and I would never blame the drugs and alcohol. I'm just saying it's a contributing factor.
Sure. Yeah.
So
no, I get it. I mean, yeah, and I was just saying I hope that the people you're around would understand that it wasn't meant to be insulting or whatever.
The intent was not there.
Yeah.
But I'd still take full responsibility for saying what I said.
Sure.
It was still a fuck up, and I apologize to whomever.
Yeah. So well, that's very decent of you.
Yeah, I try to.
That.
But I've compromised some friendships as a result of me being me.
Yeah, I guess I mean I know you party hard, I guess, and but I never got like a scummy vibe from you, which I can get from some other people.
Yeah, no names.
Yeah, why not? It's my podcast.
Okay, cool.
I can name names on my podcast if I want.
Don't name me.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I don't remember that guy's name, or I would say it. Anyway.
Yeah.
He took pictures for a while. He started coming around taking pictures
of
just the comics and stuff. But it was
without their consent.
No, with their consent. But
okay.
I mean, I don't know what the fuck he was doing all the time. But yeah, he'd come around and he was taking pictures, and I was like, I don't like this guy's
bad vibe. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing around here?
And as somebody who does comedy, reading the room, reading vibes is paramount. And I've been around comics who don't, and I'm like, and the only time that I'm kind of socially unaware is when I'm drunk and on drugs or in drugs in my text message case.
Well, yeah, that takes away a lot of of the
awareness.
Senses. Yeah, which is understandable.
Yeah, but still, like I said, I will take full responsibility for my actions. I never try to pass the buck, and it's a bummer, but we live and we learn, and we try to build on our past mistakes.
Sure.
Otherwise, I mean, imagine being perfect. That in and of itself would be a nightmare. Just being like the most perfect human. I'm like, what are you, Jesus? Like, nah. I want to hang out with people who have regrets. Like, oof, I shouldn't have done that. But like, not like accidentally murder people.
So there's a line.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a line. It's intentionally trying to hurt somebody,
Sure.
as opposed to unintentionally.
Yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Fort Collins? What would you call that? Like,
I love
Fort Collins, Loveland, Greeley scene. See any big overarching things?
Yeah. The Comedy Fort is doing so good.
Is it hurting?
It is.
Comedy. It is.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They are doing so good that a lot of these new comics are afraid to start open mics. They're afraid to start shows. They don't want to either compete against the Comedy Fort, or they don't want to taste the bitter pill that is failure, that is paramount to comedy.
I mean, yeah, it's like something that everybody's going to do.
Yeah.
It's just a stepstone to success.
Exactly. To understand where the line is, how to do it.
Yeah.
And so the Comedy Fort is so good. The open mic has an actual, there are comics that are doing it. Britt Boyd and, I forget the other guy. They started a show and a mic over at a pizza place. Jeff Gundy.
Britt Boyd around before the Fort was really the Fort though. Yep. So
she's going on, I think, 5 or 6 years now in comedy. Jeff Gundy, he's a couple years in. He's running shows out of Denver and Fort Collins and the area. But there is a lot left, or a lot less comics that are trying and failing, like when we started comedy, when you would start an open mic at a place like I was doing.
Yeah, just a bar that someone tries a mic for a couple months and it goes away.
Yep,
and,
it just bombs so hard.
Yeah.
And then people just like in Fort Collins, they're not used to having no audience, just a bunch of comics waiting for their turn to talk.
Okay.
The Comedy Fort has an audience every Monday at an open mic. People are voluntarily going and sitting through these garbage jokes like civilians. And to me, it's crazy. Someone who's put in the time, like for a while there, for a couple of years there, it was 5 days a week, open mics, and try to get on as 2 to 3 shows or as many shows as possible. Or go to 4 or 5, like when I would do a show in Denver, I would try to hit up 3 or 4 open mics before the show and then a couple more after, like Lion's Lair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there was a huge grind for the beginning of my career when you just wanted it all. You just wanted that.
Yeah, you just want to get the reps in.
Yeah, exactly. But these kids, I mean, they have opportunities that they don't take advantage of. And a lot of them are kind of, like I said, afraid to fail, it seems, because I am not.
What are these opportunities they're not taking advantage of? Like doing a mic at the place that they
starting their own mic, starting their own show. Or when David puts up on, there's a private Fort Collins, like.
What?
Yeah.
I need to get on.
Exactly.
What the fuck are they saying about me?
A lot.
God damn it.
Exactly.
I knew it.
And so he offers these opportunities for these comics, like, hey, we got a 5-minute slot open. Come up, and if you come up and do it, you can go get 5 minutes in at the Comedy Fort. And the Comedy Fort is perfect. It's like one of those clubs that it's a tertiary club. It can only seat X number of people that a lot of comics won't go to, a lot of top tier comics that won't go to because their agent says that you need a 700 people arena, whereas I think Comedy Fort tops out.
Segura's not going to the
not
Fort.
Anymore.
Yeah, maybe back in like 2011.
Exactly. And there was also like, I remember David used to book Nate Bargatze. David used to book Rory Scovel. David used to book Dusty Slay. Like all those guys are now, you can't even do it if you don't have a theater. Like they sell out the Lincoln Center, and they won't, and like 5 years ago they were doing the Colorado Room. That's how crazy their trajectory has happened.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. It
is. It's fun. And having met those people and having worked with them at the Colorado Room when it was coming up, super fun. Like I think I worked with Dusty Slay 2 or 3 times, opening for him 5-10 minutes. And Roy Scovel was always around whenever he was passing through. Like it would be an off night from Comedy Works. He would just drive up to Fort Collins and do a show at the Colorado Room on like a Thursday or something. So we're going.
Do you think it's lost that magic, or is it just
no?
We don't know who's coming up yet. We're getting, they just have more people coming through that.
The Comedy Fort has upped their game, so there's like the next level comics who haven't hit that skyrocketing situation.
Yeah.
And so there's a guy out of I forget what his name is. It doesn't matter. I guess you can edit that part out. But there's this guy out of the Midwest who is real up and coming. And
Derek Stroop.
yo, dude, yeah, Derek just did the comedy for it recently as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their calendar here. Dustin Nicholson, Sam Tallent's coming.
Sam Talent, he's just like
Robert Mack, Kate Willett.
Yep.
Caitlin
All those people.
Palufo. Interesting.
What's his name? Oh, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Asmus.
Epstein.
Jeffrey. Yep, he rolled through in the early 2000s. No, Jeffrey Asmus. He might be he's out of the Midwest somewhere, but he is an up and coming guy. He is crushing it everywhere he goes. I'm not sure if he has an agent yet, but I think at his level he needs it because I was just looking at his Instagram.
You need an agent to get into the fort now?
I think you need a presence to approach David seriously.
Is he the one who's booking all that stuff still?
Yeah.
He's like, there's not like a Comedy Works agent, entertainment agent who's doing that.
David, I feel, is one of those people that's kind of like me. Like you want to know, you want to vet those people. Because
I was trying to get him on the pod, and he was just like, "I'm busy, I gotta go." I was like, "All right."
I
mean, he said yes, but then it didn't work out. And then he was like, he's got a life. He's got shit he's got to do.
So I saw him in Houston on the Dude Dad tour.
Okay.
And so Dude Dad performs over at the Comedy Fort all the time. And are you familiar with his stuff?
Yeah, I've seen his stuff on like Instagram.
Yeah.
I haven't seen his stand up. Is he good?
It's more of a show.
Okay.
So it's a very interactive
sketches,
little sketches and stuff and fun ideas. And
he's doing fun ideas.
It's very interactive.
Yeah,
like,
okay,
for example,
cool.
one of the ideas was he gave a $50 gift card to the most white lady, and there was these categories on how white they were. And this one lady was like, if you went to Starbucks today, if you just got your nails done, what's your kids' names? And if it's just like, if you win the white lady award, you get the $50 gift card. And then he brings up, but the Dude Dad show is...
that's fun. It's like interactive.
Exactly. It's super interactive. It's really great. And it's geared towards young parents because Dude Dad himself has like a 8-year-old to like a newborn. Super young family.
No kids allowed. Or can they bring their kids?
I didn't see any kids there.
Okay,
I think there's probably like the people have them at like people don't want to bring their kids.
Right, yeah. It's like this is the night out.
Exactly. To this guy whose comedy is relatable to their current situation.
Great niche.
Absolutely. Because you can't outgrow that. Everyone
they will eventually, but I mean, he'll outgrow it, but that pool of young adults will always be there.
Yep, exactly.
Or young parents.
I think it's both, honestly.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, it wasn't geared towards me at all as a 40-year-old man who's not married and no kids. It was still
party's hard.
Yeah, party hard. Still in drugs.
Still in drugs.
But it was super fun. It was super fun for somebody who it wasn't geared towards. Whereas I've seen other comics do their sketches and their bits and stuff, and I was like, this is too niche for me. And the one person that I can think of right now is Eliza Schlesinger. I went and saw her. She was filming a special in someplace in Denver. And I was just like, I cannot relate to any of these jokes. But it was like, it wasn't geared towards me. And she was crushing it with the women audience members. But to like a straight white guy, I'm like, okay, cool, good take.
So you just couldn't relate, which is
at
fine.
All. Yeah.
Which is like,
and it's
good.
I wasn't the audience that she was looking for. But
that audience is coming to the fort.
Well, the Dude Dad audience is, because he's a huge draw nationally, and I saw them in Houston, and it was super fun. And so anything that puts the Comedy Fort on the map, I'm totally for. Yeah. And he's out of Fort Collins.
Yeah. I knew he was based out of, because all his stuff's Colorado based.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to you think he'd do the pod? Should I reach out to him?
Yeah,
Dude Dad?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, you guys' number?
I don't.
Okay. I just, can I say you got the Erdman bump or something?
It wouldn't be for me because I've met him like 3 times in person, and he just knows me from hanging out with Dan and hanging out from David. So I'm like a tertiary friend who I have to remind where I met him.
Sure.
It's kind of like every time I see Eddie Pepitone, I have to put myself in context. It's like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I don't expect anyone to remember me. I get it. I'm a D- comic out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And I don't remember a lot of people, and they get offended. I would never get offended. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just meet so many
you're
people.
A good guy.
I try to be.
Yeah. Any recommendations for any new comics who might be trying to get, any new Denver comics or somebody in the Springs or something, or anybody from out of town who might be wanting to get booked more in Fort Collins or hit you up for shows? How would you recommend they approach?
Literally anytime through any messenger. Any messenger at all. So my Instagram is
to hit you up.
hit me up specifically,
your
and
shows.
yeah, I will absolutely book you.
What do you got now? Or just running show
I
wise?
run a first Wednesday show, but that's a seasonal show. That is from
Because outdoors.
no, it's in Wellington.
Oh, okay.
And so it turns out in the summertime in Wellington, people don't care.
yeah.
They do not want to go. They will hang out in a brewery, but not at night. And so it's a September to May show. And so the season finale last year, Ben Roy, Jack Comstock, and Tobias were all on the show, and they crushed.
Oh yeah, George's brother. I was like, Comstock sounds familiar, but she doesn't go. Or yeah, she does go by Comstock now.
Yeah, so it's
when
not,
she first came here, it was Georgia Ray, but she changed it.
Exactly.
My
and
bad,
so her brother, Ben Roy, and Tobias Livingston all did the show. But that's, like I said, it starts in September, ends in May, and then after that, and then also every last Saturday in Fort Collins at Maxline Brewery, I've been running that show, and that's the longest running show in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
And so I've been running that since
I've been doing that
2016.
For a long time, yeah. Breach, bro. Thanks for keeping
always,
that alive.
100%. Like I said, I know where you're at, and I know that your comedy is consistent and good. So
I felt really bad. I went a little under. But I'd like hit the top I was going to get. And I was just like, I can't, it's all diminishing returns after this. I was like, exactly. I was at 12. I was supposed to go like a 15.
Yeah, no problem.
Just like,
it happens.
Weston Unruh was in the audience, threw me off.
Yeah. And that was, if you remember my set, that I was running almost all new material that had not been fleshed out. And so I just ate a big old bag of dicks.
I didn't think so, but I mean, yeah, it was.
It's but you know how comedy works. It's like people can say good show and then your only response is thank you. When in your mind you're like, really? Were we at the same show? That sucked. That was so hard for me. But you know how it goes.
Yeah. You know, I guess. And then brewery shows are always a little hard. You know, you had to kind of wrangle them, get them to shut up and stuff.
And I mean, hosting. Have you hosted a lot before?
Oh yeah, I host my show, but not a lot. You know, like I've never done comedy works or anything like that.
Yeah. So hosting is like they're cold and sober, and so you just want to push the drinks, and then you got to, like you said, wrangle them in and fucking, hey, this is live entertainment.
Interesting. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. And if you can crush your opening set on a cold, sober crowd, you know that those jokes are good. Yeah. So and that's why the lineup is the way it is. Like you lead up to like the person who has done it longest and will crush because they're warmed up and they're relatively drunk.
Sure.
So there is an art form when it comes to producing stuff. And I think Steve Vanderplug is teaching people how to approach venues and how to approach venues for shows and how to run a positive show. And David at the Comedy Fort every once in a while runs a couple of comedy classes.
Oh, okay.
And I've heard good things about both of those places. So, but also I feel comedy is one of those things where you just got to do it. Taking classes to me is kind of weird. But who am I?
You've been doing it for so long. You know, the idea of taking a class.
I kind of want to take a class and be like, oh my gosh, and then go to this, like, take it, like, for example.
There are plenty around.
Yeah, true. But there was this, there's this venue that's north of Dallas called, I forget what the city is called. It's a super sweet little city that when Dallas grew, they basically just annexed them into just the Dallas region. But they have a comedy club out there. And they know I've been doing comedy forever because every time I go there, I try to get booked on their shows, and they give me like 5 minutes every once in a while. But they have comedy classes, and I kind of want to go to a place where I know that does comedy classes and just take a class and see what they're doing. Because maybe I can up my game. Maybe. I don't know. Read some literature on how to do comedy, because you've seen my comedy. Sometimes I look like I don't know what I'm doing.
That's part of the fun.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just going to have fun with it.
Yeah. That's part of that. Like, hey, I'm just having fun. I think if you're like, I'm just going to have fun up there, I don't know if you get to the Seinfeld level doing that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You got to grind. You got to make it important. But I did just see this interview with Rory Scovel, and he was talking about how he did 6 nights in Atlanta, an hour each night with no set list, no nothing. And he's come to this conclusion where he's like, I'm just funny. I've been doing it long enough that I can just go up there, and if I'm, hitting a bad stride or like a valley, I can just rely on one of the jokes that I know will crush. And he's been doing it for so long that he can just basically dovetail it into his current act so seamlessly that it feels like it's part of it.
Well, that's talent, right?
Yeah,
there.
no,
there's definitely some talent that goes on with it. But,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, also a skill, because that's skill.
Yeah.
To, the confidence of like, I know I'm funny.
Yeah.
I got to believe in that more sometimes.
Me
It's
too,
hard
me
for me.
too.
Yeah, it's hard for me.
It's my ego is like, I've like the reverse ego, like, dude, you're a piece of shit. What are you doing? What are you trying? Dude, come on. Like, try harder or don't try at all. I'm like, I'm trying here. And that's just like my internal dialogue.
How do you get out of that?
Got to shut it off. You got to drink more
With
beer.
cocaine.
Get in drugs.
Get in drugs. Oh, well. I guess, we'll leave it there, man. I appreciate
All
you
right.
taking the time to come out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No, I'm glad we made it happen. Hopefully, get you in a lot sooner than 7 more years.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yeah, we'll work on it. But yeah, you got to get going here. You said, your job's taking you to California.
So I'm trying to hit up some shows in Sacramento and San Francisco right now.
Right on. Where can people find you if they do want to book you or just follow you on Instagram or anything like that?
Instagram, 970 Comedy, Jacob Erdman, or 970 Comedy on Facebook. And then that's the easiest way, really. But my presence on there is pretty much not as serious as a lot of people who are making it. Like, I don't, like, people, like, there's like these benchmarks you got to make on like either Twitter or
like
Facebook
followers and posts.
Yeah, you just got to
keep
like making content for these people, or you'll get out of their algorithm.
Yeah.
And so I don't post that much, and pretty much my only algorithm is people who are my friends.
Yeah, me too.
But you just got to find me. So it's at 970 Comedy.
Big tits, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, absolutely not. Game respects game, 100%. You know what you like.
All right, yeah. Well, thank you all for listening. Big shout out to Tatum Elizabeth for making my new logo. Got into some new stuff. Thank you all for doing that. Check her out on all her socials. Tatum Elizabeth Creative, I think is all that. I guess I better look it up now that I'm getting into it. Oh, Tatum Elizabeth Artistry. All right. Yeah. And then I'm at Left Hand Right Brain. Got a new website coming up soon. All right. So stay tuned for that. I will say Wakanda forever. Be excellent to each other. And I'll let you sign off however you see fit. The culmination of this episode for you.
Yeah, I would say party on.
Party on.